Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chops Podcast. My name is Steve Peterson.
My name is Jack Hinkle.
Welcome to Chops Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about knowing your students, knowing your content, and knowing your teaching, known as the trifecta. Jack,
Steve.
how are we doing today, soldier?
We're hanging in. Big week for us here at the high school.
Why is it a big week?
It's called Carnival.
Carnival.
This is our spring variety show where we feature the orchestras, the bands, the choir, the jazz bands, and the color guard. All in one jam-packed show Thursday
Sounds
evening.
like a carnival.
It's a pretty good time. A lot of rehearsals, a lot of stitching things together, so that's what's going on here. How are you, though? How are you?
Stitching things together, right?
Well, last episode you said you're like trying to make a scarf, but you end up with a pair of overalls. No, an overall doormat, but you end up with overalls.
And
Why does my doormat have buttons? That made me laugh when I edited that episode.
That was fun. Oh, my week has been glorious.
Did you have a good birthday?
I had a great birthday.
Sorry about Kentucky, by the way.
They just that's tough. Now, thankfully, we're Purdue fans by proxy, and
Yeah, it
so
helps
that-
to be bandwagon fans based on helps to like the best two teams in basketball. Usually
one of them.
one of them's well. Yeah,
So that's good.
yeah. I come from a Butler and IU family, so we just turn the TV off in March.
We just wait for the Masters. Birthday was a blast. Did some celebrating. Did some getting out on the town. Getting out, seeing some parks. Some cake, some ice cream. Too much
Too much sugar.
sugar.
Love those days.
I did blow that up on Sunday.
Oliver, I'm sure, had a great time.
Oh,
The house smells great, Dad. Was that brownies? Wait, I shouldn't do that again. See the spinny chair.
We did talk about spinny chair blues the other night at dinner with my parents and some friends. That was a good time. Good memories. Jack, I just want to be a better teacher.
Well, I would hope so, because I've seen you teach. You're tossing the
You're not
softball.
usually funny, but that was funny.
I have my
that was
moments.
good.
That's good. You should want to be a better teacher. Everyone should, right?
Right.
That was kind of a loaded statement, though. I want you to unpack it if you feel like you need to.
No, I know it is a lot. I've mentioned this before, but teaching at Aspire is like the one-room schoolhouse, and if you decide to get involved, you can get involved in any aspect of education going on. Right. So cores all the way to electives and whatever.
But knowing your content.
Knowing your content looks a little bit different for this guy.
Because you're probably not talking about credential 6.4s over there.
No,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to talk about math, but it's kind of the idea that if how do you help manage a situation where the students are asked to do DEF, but they can't do ABC, and feeling like too rushed sometimes to want to take time for that, but realizing that maybe that's the only option is to reboot and start again and give some success with the early steps of a process.
I don't know if this exactly correlates, but something that we've kind of gotten into in the last couple of years with some people we've invited in to work with the bands is that if the bands are struggling on some notes and rhythms in a piece of music, you create a warm-up or an exercise that kind of adapts to that and treats that symptom.
Mm-hmm.
Example, band I'm working with today really was not getting the accent space appropriately done, and we warmed up today on F concert. Shocking. And then we turned it to quarter notes, and then we turned it to accented quarter notes, and we turned it to space quarter notes, and we turned it to the note in question at measure 35 on the tune we're working on, and then adapted it that way. Is there something you could do where you can take the content that they're working on and then create some, I know it's apples and oranges, but is there
it's
hybrid fruit in between?
It's not apples and oranges, because I think if you go across the curriculum to some teacher's room, they're working on the same idea.
Okay.
right? Like, how do I isolate this
Yeah.
and put it into something they already know how to do? And I like that. I like that challenge to figure it out. And it's so important, like, to have success, even though that success doesn't mean like a test grade or a quiz grade, but emotionally and psychologically, there's success. So you create
The
your
buy-in.
own success for the students and hand out worthless prizes.
Some would say worthless. Some say are those the most fascinating little marble gems they could ever achieve in their lives.
Yes.
They're meaningful.
I
I found one in the band room today, just so you know.
You did?
Yeah, they still live. Yeah.
A number of years ago, I got into like glass. I call them glass gems, but they're like little discs.
They're like what you would put like in your
Fish
grandma's.
bowl.
Yeah, just like you put some fake flowers in there.
Yeah.
And keep them standing.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, it works.
And I have hundreds of those, and for the last many years, I've had hundreds of those.
And if you'd like some of your own, just go out to our marching band field. They're probably still out there. Oh,
And
look.
A gem.
Piece of candy.
It started with like the gem fairy, and we would like give them out just randomly,
And
I'd
then
say but sometimes I'd just be in the marching band field and just like drop them.
you'd be like, hey, you're a gem. And then you chuck him at a kid. And like, oh, Mr. Peterson, that hurt.
Wasn't supposed to.
Catch it,
but
kids. It happens.
giving, things like that
Yeah, that's real.
have meaning. And never forget that everybody likes to get prizes. Everybody likes to get prizes. And it could be Spider-Man stickers. It could be toys from the dentist. It could be coins. It could be gems,
Lysol wipes. just
whatever
you got around.
used
your classroom.
Kleenexes, whatever it takes.
Yep. Whatever it
High
takes.
school kids, it doesn't matter. Everybody loves a prize. Everybody loves a prize. So I don't have a great specific for you, but I guess I'm convincing myself more and more the need to slow down and remediate. And, we don't have a performance coming up where we have to like crash through the finish line.
You want to, though? You could put your kids on stage and like have them do math. You hear that, though, like from what other people say, like from band directors are like, well, imagine if what you had to do and you had to take your kids and put them on stage.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing. You could tell the kids are going to do that, and they might,
I'd be
kinda
terrified.
work faster. I don't know. What are we talking about this week, Steve?
We're talking today, Jack Hinkle. We are talking about, okay.
Richard, put your phone away.
Okay.
Here's the context. In Carnival, the performance we have going on, and in our other one that happens in the winter time called Christmas Spectacular, probably 20-ish acts perform, more in Christmas Spec, closer to 20 in Carnival. And at the very end of tonight's dress rehearsal, all of the music staff will sit toward the top of the auditorium, and we will go through each number of the performance and trade notes, essentially.
Mm-hmm. So that's band directors, orchestra directors, choir directors, accompanists, technical director of the stage and controlling the AV, and percussion, like everybody.
Yeah, it's like 15 adults altogether.
Dance instructor. So it's all open notes. It's like open, iPads, open notebooks, whatever. But everybody's giving notes to help with transitions, to help with performance issues.
Visual qualities of
visual
performers.
Yep.
And the staff here are very good at saying, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it can feel personal because you have a personal attachment to these groups when you receive those ideas. And there may be a temptation to come up with some reasoning as to why maybe something didn't go well. But in the end, it doesn't necessarily matter because you have to fix it. And it's just easier to go, okay. Coincidentally, today's question of the day in jazz band was, I respect people who blank. And somebody said, people that own it and don't make excuses. I just thought that was kind of interesting coincidence. Into
Oh, look at that. It's like a lead-in.
yeah.
Perfect. I had been through many of those meetings, and I remember early on, I think I felt a need to make an excuse. Well, the reason is too loud is the reason it fell apart was the reason the kids were late on stage, and was comfortable giving an excuse to save face. And I don't know when it clicked for me, but it definitely became a switch that someone said, Steve, the jazz band's too loud. I'd say, okay. We need to turn down the bass amp and turn on the guitar. Okay. Make sure your soloists come forward over this on more to stage right, not as far on stage left. Okay. And just, I think that's so good for you to say that personally. And that doesn't mean you necessarily are going to agree with everything and that you're going to change everything. But I think it says, I hear what you're saying. You know, you want to give not just the impression, but to give the action that you're actually listening to what's being said and considering it. Right?
I agree.
And then you say, okay. And then it's up to you how you want to handle that change the next time you see your ensemble. Whether you're going to take a lot of time, whether maybe that's just a note or two you give to them. And for a while, as Jack alluded to, that kind of became more the vibe. That was more the expectation that you would say. It was more in that vein that you would say, okay, and that you didn't have to defend your turf.
Yes. And I think it's so important that as adults working together, especially in the same department, that we have that skill set for us.
Yes.
Because it would be very unfortunate if we weren't able to get through this kind of thing tonight without that. And I'm glad I haven't been a part of any that have gotten like a little awkward because of that. And I think this isn't something that's like kid-centric or adult-centric. I think it's everybody-centric. And being able to move past that and just, as you said, say, okay, makes a big difference. And that's also something that I had to work on. And I remember Steve explicitly telling me, hey, Jack, just say okay. I'm like, what do you mean? And then he explained this concept to me, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I work to do that as much as I can because I don't want to be the excuse guy.
Yeah, and it's okay to ask questions. Obviously, if you're getting a note you don't understand, or just like can you clarify what this is about? Like, create some dialogue. You're not trying to create like a fence, around you. You're trying to solve problems, and you have other people watching your group. You have other educators watching your group, so you take that all in. Another dynamic I think of.
Forte?
I think of Forte all the time.
More of a fortissimo
along with the Roman
guy.
Empire. So the having an ensemble on stage in the performing hall, and maybe have your assistant or your co-teacher up in the balcony. That's a common thing, getting ready for a contest. Or a person out in the house. And then, you're on stage as the conductor up front, and you're working on ABC. And you're working on what you think is important at the time. And then the person back 30 feet is like DEF. And you want to make that an experience where basically, again, okay, and you choose if you get to it or not. But that is said, and that person you don't need to say, yeah, well, I wasn't really worried about the intonation because the tempo was so bad. I'm just really focusing on that. And I think it's important for you and your co-teacher to have that professional connection, that you're giving a note and it's free. It's a free note. And then also, I think it's really probably even more important that the students see that collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
That they don't see you saving face. And if it's in direct conflict to something that you're working on, then you can choose to go on and not even work on it, right? But and you can talk later about it, but you would not like disagree in front of your students for that kind of thing. I don't think that's something worth disagreeing in front of the students.
Dude, humble pie, I can remember this exact moment, and this is totally on me. We were working on Ness and Dorma, our first year teaching together. Steve is on the podium. I'm the house guy. I'm sitting in the house. This is literally what's happening. And I came up and I said something, and I don't even remember what exactly it was.
You're like,
but
I never knew that opportune could sound so bad.
But no. But looking back, I'm like, I don't remember what it was, but looking back, I remember it was something just didn't matter and just like so minimal and so not important at the time. Like, example would be like the band is completely falling apart and I'm worrying about the timbre or the clarinets. It's like one of those things.
Yeah.
And I came up and said it to you, and you're like, okay, clarinets play. And like you were totally respectful of it and you did it. And again, I probably had this like understanding of like how stupid I was, I don't know, like a year or two ago, like some random time I'm remembering that. But you're saying it, it's like you have to listen to what your like co-teacher or assistant says and just go with it for you, for the assistant, and for the kids. And you made that call. And so I just think that's so funny that you're like saying this, and then I can think of an exact moment that happened.
Well, good.
Fascinating.
Good.
It
Well,
works.
you think about being in the school and like how your administrators talk to you, right? And how your colleagues outside of your department talk to you. And you know, God bless, there's one of our administrative assistants at the high school, Heather, who
Shout out Heather.
Heather, shout out to you, who just takes care of so many details across the school. And one of those job descriptions that's probably terrifying to assemble. Right? And so, you know, one that comes up every year, it's just like Christmas, like you get a teacher contract, teachers, please come by and sign your contract. How many times has this guy got called down to the office to sign his contract because I didn't do it on the first day? Or you need to sign up for your health insurance meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Or you need to sign off on your grades. Or whatever it is. And I'm sure everybody has wonderful excuses. But you don't roll into Heather's office and say, yeah, I forgot. I've been really busy. I have like carnival this week.
Don't say the B-U-S-Y word to Heather Bone.
No.
Don't.
No, it's
do
not.
that.
It doesn't make sense. It's not even part of it. It's not fair. It's not even. No, it's not kind to say that.
Because she's probably busier than you anyway. It's like there's so many. Right.
Right.
So
many fires being put out, but just the grace, or at least the politeness, just to say I'm sorry. You know.
And what a gift to give Heather, who has to replay this conversation with X amount of teachers that forgot to sign the contract.
Yes.
Fill in the blank there. And you know how that feels as teachers when the kid comes into your class and you're like, what are we doing today? You're like, read the board. Next kid, what are we doing today? Read the board. Are we on stage? Are we in the band? Read the board. Do we need read the board? And you just end up buying a T-shirt that says read the board. It's the same thing. Like kind of helping the empathy of like, what's the other person experiencing right now, and trying to help them out. So Steve and I are talking about, this carnival idea and saying okay to adults. I think it's also very important to teach kids to say okay. And Steve is the master of this because every time Steve works with a kid, it ends up making teachable moments for kids to say okay. What can this look like, Steve?
Recently had a student that was in Aspire, and we were moving seats. Something wasn't going well for student behavior or talking or whatever, and asked student to move to a different seat. And a senior, and saying something like, okay, you guys, you're going to need to move seats. Right now, I want you to move up here 2 rows in the seat on the right. Why? What did I do? Let's try that again. Do you hear what I said? What did I say? You said move to the chair up to the front of you to the right. Okay. Here's your response. Okay. So let's play it again. I want you to move up 2 rows and 1 chair to the right. Okay. Thank you. And move on. And having that response ready and not making excuses and not asking for an exception and just saying, okay, like, do it. And I think that is so important to have students be able to model, or we have to model that for students, but then that they model that for us and learn that very important skill of just taking directions. And that sounds so simple. It sounds like first grade. Everybody come down and put your hands onto the side and sit crisscross applesauce. Okay. And everybody does it, but we're used to following directions in groups. But we get away from it sometimes as we get older and we get to be adolescents and older, and we maybe become a little bit more brave or a little bit more courageous. And we think we need to have an independent voice, when at this point, this is not where your independent voice really matters. You just say, okay. And just not making it a power struggle, not making it an argument, and letting them feel the peace in that, just saying, okay. Saying, great, let's do it.
And I want to highlight that. I don't think I don't know if the listeners understand, like, the other half of this is that as a teacher, you training the kids to say okay takes you out of the power struggle. Because as a first-year teacher, if a kid said, well, why do I have to go do that? I would have taken that bait.
Yeah.
And I would have said, well, you're talking and you're talking to no, I'm not talking. Yes, you are. Bull roar. We've heard this episode before. So it takes you out of the picture. And I mean, I'm not a big fan of because I said so. Like, I don't use that in my vocabulary. No. It's kind of a different idea than this. It says, do this, say okay, and we'll go. And you can help coach the kid. Like, if you really feel that that's unfair, there could be a conversation in your future, but reacting emotionally to it and not based on facts and evidence, I'm not interested in having that conversation. And you as the teacher have every right to ask a kid to do that and not give in to their bait that they're trying to bait you with.
Right.
Just
it can be a time sucker to go down the rabbit hole with some simple tasks.
And a culture sucker.
And a culture sucker really eats away at your authority or presence in the room and just kind of the relationship you want to have with your students. Like, do you want to have that kind of bickering idea going on? Also, I was just listening to another co-teacher recently here at the high school, and they were talking with some students about they were, resentful of having to do this thing and they didn't want to do it. And why do I have to do it? Well, there's a skill, this teacher was saying, there's a skill to basically saying, yes, I will comply. And for example, like, you go to the BMV and you apply for a driver's license or a registration and you don't have your birth certificate or you don't have your social security card or you don't have proof of insurance, they're going to say, you don't have it. You cannot get your license today. And you can't argue your way back into it. It's just a rule. And so at that point, 18-year-old you's got to go, okay, even though it infuriates you that you have to go all the way back home and get that, but that's a life skill, saying okay. If heaven forbid, but you're pulled over. Like, I've been pulled over for speeding, but I've never argued or said anything except okay. I don't have that in my vocabulary. Like, I don't want that relationship to look any different than me saying, okay, I was speeding, sorry, and what do I need to do? Right? I can't jump I can't jump into that.
And there's certain level of power too. I'm going to go back to Steve as the teacher, asking the student to say okay. And this, I mean, this kind of does go with your most recent analogy you just made, that when the person of power trying to avoid the power struggle makes it so crystal clear, oh, try it again. We're just going to say, okay. And your emotional temperature usually is very cool.
Yeah.
You're going very mellow and calm and just so low compared to where you normally are. You're also discouraging that sort of escalation because you're just so de-escalating, you know. And if you go to the BMV, thankfully never been at the BMV when there's something that would go down, but you can imagine how that look. And
Sure.
those people that work there, I'm sure, deal with that stuff all the time. I don't know their level of training on how to handle it, but you can imagine what that.
Oh, I'm sure. God bless those people that are working there.
And you know, for those of you in positions of authority, whether you're teaching, a business leader, whatever, I mean, hear it from Steve. Just try it again. Say okay.
Yeah.
I have had some moments with my classes where I realized that they're starting to really understand me pretty well because of some of these moments. There was a sectional and marching band this year, and you know how this looks. It's like everyone's just standing pretty still at standby. Not perfect, but, pretty good.
Yeah.
And somebody's getting the old stand tap going, which always means phone on the stand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. Now's not the time to have a phone out. And this girl's like, I was texting my mom, and which another episode, by the way. And the whole, like the collective upperclassmen just go, and some girl, of course, in the mellophones was like, just say okay. Like she knew it.
Really?
She knew it. Yeah. And I think I was just like,
just say okay.
Like, let's try it again. Can you put your phone away?
Yeah.
Okay. And then more recently in a different class, same concept. Let's put the phone away. And she was like, I really was just texting my mom. And someone else was like, he doesn't care.
That's wonderful.
I'm really glad the
wonderful.
students are like drinking the Kool-Aid when it comes to my classroom management. I'm like understanding how I operate.
Wonderful.
So and like emotionally, personally, it does make me feel a little more like, I'm seen, I am heard, I am valued.
Well, and that's wonderful to hear, and that can happen within the school year, but then also seeing the same kids from year to year, building that culture and that communication and that expectation.
And this is probably at least for the band kids, this is probably their first experience as freshmen to be a part of something where they're no longer seen as an individual. They are, but they're seen as like a part of a cog in the machine. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, that's what's really cool about joining these large groups that are so much more than the sum of its parts, right? Is that they're part of the machine, and that comes with good and bad and different responsibilities. And this is, I think, one of them. And a lot of these kids are, for the first time, learning what it means to be a part of something like that. And I think that comes with the territory. It's that there aren't individual rules that just apply to you anymore. It's about the group. And we comply to that because it elevates the level of the group. And you don't understand it yet, and you shouldn't, because you're not there yet. But by the end of the year, you're going to start to get a glimpse of it. And each year, it's going to make a little more sense.
Right. That's so great. I've never been a business owner or a leader in business, but I would think, like, as an employee, if my superior was like, ABC, and just I had all the excuses, but just say, okay, I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And, you have to advocate for yourself whenever that moment is. But I think helping, especially like going back to the students, helping them be in a community, classroom culture that is okay with people saying okay and the de-escalation. I think that's really important to see, and kind of that transactional kind of redirection of saying, this is how it's going to go. This is what I'd like you to say. And another one that we've used from different times, and I still use, is like if I'm working with maybe I'm working with a student one-on-one, and another student number 2, comes up to my desk kind of impulsively saying, I need to do corrections on this. And I'm working with a student on a whiteboard, and I say, okay, I'm working here with Jack. It's going to be a few minutes. So come back when you see Jack leave, come back. But I really I want to get this corrected. And I'll say, did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
What did I say? You said, look at the table. When Jack's gone, I can come up. I said, okay.
This episode of Chops is sponsored by Sight Reading Factory. Sight Reading Factory is a digital tool that generates virtually infinite music on the spot for any ensemble. Every exercise is customizable, making it great to focus on specific rhythms or intervals. And now you can even align the exercises to match your state and organizational standards. Sight Reading Factory is built for the classroom with 2 great features: auto assessment and live practice. Auto assessments grade student recordings automatically so you don't have to, and they sync directly to your gradebook. By selecting one of 3 levels of leniency for your group, you can be sure SRF will grade recordings appropriately. Live practice allows you to generate music for your ensemble on the spot. Correctly transposed parts will be sent to students' devices while you read the score. No more wasting time distributing, collecting, and hunting down original parts from your library on Sight Reading Day. Visit sightreadingfactory.com today to begin your subscription for as low as $3 per student. I want to say former percussion director had this quote, your emergency is not my responsibility.
Yes. Or no,
Yeah, it's not quite right.
Something about your lack of preparation does not make a crisis on my part.
There it is.
Something like that.
Yes. Yeah, classic example. Assignment overdue by a month and a half.
Okay.
Student turns it in. 1 hour later, email. Hey, Mr. Hinkle, I turned in my test corrections. Can you grade them tonight just so my grade goes up? It's 4 a.m.
Yeah.
You sent me an email. Buddy's eyelids are closed. This is
right.
So it is like tone deaf. But again, first time they're kind of being treated not as the individual 100% of the time. And I think developmentally appropriate, and this is where they learn those skills.
Yeah.
And not just doing the thing, aka waiting to grade it or waiting to help the kid, but explaining the process. It's like, no, this is because you're behind, and just because you did this now doesn't make you first in line to be taken care of, and helping the kids understand that is real. That is real.
Yep. Take your turn. And just like we did earlier in your life in kindergarten and first grade, it's also comes in handy as a life skill for parenting. For all those parents out there, I mean, that is something that has been discussed. You say, okay, this is how it's going to go, and that's not the time to argue about it, and try not to make it a power struggle thing. And most of the time, that has, through a lot of coaching, has worked out.
I think of our students whenever we travel for the first time with the band. I mean, that's one of the pieces of script that we read to the kids, in our big announcement. Like for the first time we travel, we go to Cedar Point. First time we take buses anywhere, big trip, 4-hour drive. We go to the kids. If a band mom tells you to do something, what do you say? Okay. That's, who knows if they actually do it. I think they're pretty good at it, but they understand the concept. It's like, they're not going to ask you to do something crazy. You just go, okay.
Simple.
Yeah. Saying okay.
So that, so good luck tonight as you go into dress rehearsal for Carnival.
Oh, thank
and
you.
You do the notes for each other, helping each other out. I know it will go great.
Can make sure my BPMs are just completely locked in for all those tunes.
I'll look forward to seeing the show on Thursday night.
Yeah. I hope it goes well.
Happy rehearsals to you.
Yep. And a couple more ratings and review came in, so thank you for those. We're almost to 50 ratings. We are 2 away on Apple. We're at 48. We're
48.
so close. So close.
48.
And we'll always take more reviews if you're willing to write them. So appreciative. and we're hitting better numbers than, I mean, it's all about the numbers in podcast world, right? That's
Right.
all we care about. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you for the emails and the kind wishes you guys send that we get to keep in touch with our listeners. It's pretty fun.
Yep.
So
And next week, we're going to take off for spring break. This is our spring break, so we'll be back with you the following Tuesday as Steve's soaking up the sun on the faraway lands.
yes,
There it
we'll
is.
see.
We'll see.
That's the hope.
Like and subscribe, baby.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. For Steve Peterson,
Jack and Cole.
we're out of here.